You find your Steinsaltz online?
Yeah, I got it. למורסא, for a pus-filled wound, which Rashi actually calls klug. Anpeko dechamra ba'ahalo. It's a crimson. It's a certain amount of wine in a very crimson. It's a crimson plant. It says red ice plant. Okay. Lepircha de libo. Your heart flutters. Probably it's like beating too fast, I guess. Oh, that's what it says in the Steinsaltz, in the Sefaria. So what do you do for pircha de libo? They say tlas brushioso. Bring 3 chalas, desari of barley. V'nishtarinu bekimcha de loyover ilavi arboin yoimin. And you should soak it in kutach. That's less than 40 days. What?
What's tach?
Kutach. It's like sour milk and breadcrumbs. It's like a certain dip they had in Bavli.
It's delicious.
Oh, you've had it before?
Joking.
Oh, you're joking.
No, I'm just joking. It doesn't sound very appetizing.
Afterwards, you should drink chamro marka, diluted wine. So you have to have 3 loaves of barley soaked in kimcha, which is like a kutach, and then you have diluted wine. This will make it even worse. He said, "You're right. I wasn't talking about pircha de liba. I was talking about yoikra de liba. If your heart is heavy, what if it's pircha de liba? If your heart is like beating, have a different remedy. They say tlas brushiosa de chiti, 3 loaves of wheat, v'nishtarinu beduvsho, and you should soak it in honey. And you should drink. You should eat them, and you should drink afterwards." Raw wine, like wine that's undiluted. Now, the tzarcha de libo, if your heart is hurting, you have heart pain. By the way, this stuff seems very like doable. And a lot of times modern medicine doesn't have an answer if your heart is hurting.
Yes.
Let's say tlas beyininyo. You should bring 3 eggs of mint leaves. Minte, Rashi says. Uveasa de chamuna, an egg worth of cumin. Uveasa de shumshami, and also sesame seeds, an egg's worth of sesame seeds, a bale. V'leichel, and you should eat it. L'ke'ev me'ai, if your intestines are hurting, your insides are hurting. Le'se tlas mea pilpuli arichta. You should bring 300 long peppers. And you should drink 100 of them with wine. Maybe you put it in the wine, you drink it, you soak it in the wine, you drink it.
The wine is undiluted, so I guess it's pretty strong. In those days, I guess it was high in alcohol.
Yeah. So this helps for the problem of this intestines. Maybe you're boiling it in water, maybe you're soaking in the wine. I think maybe you put it in the wine, you drink the wine with the pepper in it. I'm not sure. Ravan de Minadish, overlo the Brati de Ravashi, may have a chamshin ma'ani didon. Ravan from Nadish made for the daughter of Rashi 150. It says 300. He made 150 from our peppers from Bavli, and it worked. She got cured. The kirtzo, if you have worms in your stomach, anpeko de chamra, which is a revis of wine, be'atrafo de aro, with a leaf of the arates, which is called lurier. Its fruit is called bayish, and it says here in the Sefaria, laurel leaves. Okay. Zokti Gemara weiter. Lekirtza chivra. If you have white worms, they say bizra galgila, arugula, I think. No, it says cress here. V'nitzayde b'shistag, you should wrap it with a piece of wool, of cotton, semergeffen of cotton. Here it just says woven cloth. Rashi says it's cotton, a garment of cotton. V'nitayde b'mayim, you should soak it in water. So you're taking these cress with a piece of cotton and you're soaking it in water, v'nishtan, you drink it. Drinking the water. V'nizdar mi binso. You should be very careful about the seeds of this cress. The Eloi, if you're not going to be careful, menagfele lemayone. It's going to pierce your insides. It's very dangerous.
David, I'm sorry, I'm coming in late. Where are you?
We're on Daf Samachtes Amud Beis Lemesar Sisin, which is
that called what's the word? An ulcer? When it pierces the intestines, is that called? No, what's it
16
called?
lines from the bottom. Lemesar Sisin is the last words on the line of the skinny lines. From the bottom of the skinny lines, Lemesar Sisin on Samachtes Amud Beis. Is
15?
it an ulcer? I don't know. Is that what's going to do when it pierces your intestines? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Sounds pretty serious. Anyway.
Yeah.
What does the line start with, David?
It starts with Eloi menakvale lemayone.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, the Gemara says like this: the mesa. What if you need to stop? Your bowels are too loose. You have diarrhea. So the answer is sisin retiva. It says here chamomile. Rashi says poliol. I guess I don't know. I don't know how the Steinsaltz got to chamomile. Fine. According to the laws of Rashi, it's a type of mint. So I guess, is chamomile considered a type of mint? Maybe, very possible. B'maya, in water. So you drink this chamomile plant in water. Now, what if it's the opposite? The mishra yeveshta b'maya. The mishra yeveshta b'maya. If it's the opposite, then you should have dry chamomile in water. Then it will make your bowels looser. The simonach itzo retivo. Wet is retiva is itzo retivto. Wet grass, the sochenaida will close the river. So you need to have wet to close and dry to open your bowels. The tachalo, let's say you have an issue with your spleen. Rashi says it's bloated. It's blown up. Your spleen is blown up. So what you do is, Leise Shev Bine Demaya, 7 leeches from the water. And Rashi says Velaz is Shinshua, certain type of leeches. And
well, they draw out the blood, right? When there's an excess of blood, or what's it called, hemorrhaging. I think until 100 years ago or so, they used to do that. Doctors, they would prescribe leeches.
Oh, yep, right. Interesting. Yeah,
I'm not sure, but you could Google it and see.
Leeches.
Yeah.
Here we're talking about you kill the leeches, you dry them in the shade. They shouldn't be dried from the sun. Every day you should drink 2 or 3 of them with wine. The stomach, you soak them in the wine, you drink the wine. Obviously, it's not kosher, but you need to do it because it's like it's a medicine.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. They're not kosher.
If it doesn't work, I think it means it doesn't work. They say tachala de tzifrasa. According to the Steinsaltz, if you're not able to do it, it could be. It's very possible. It means you can't do it. I don't know. I just feel it means if it doesn't work. They say tachala de tzifrasa. You should bring the spleen of a goat, the le'iftach, that hasn't been born. V'nitchia b'tanura, you should roast it in the oven. V'noiki lahadei, you should stand opposite. V'neiman, you should say like this: Heichi de yavish haytachala and yavish tachlai de plani by planisa. Just like the goat's spleen has dried up, my spleen should be dried up. It seems like this is more difficult than the first thing, so I think it means if it doesn't work. If not, nitchia beni orvei de beise chadto. You should roast this spleen of the goat. Nitchia. Actually, you should place the spleen between, you should smash it on the wall between the rows of the wall and should dry there of a I forgot, I lost my spot. Beni orve de beisachat of a new house. And you should say like this. You should say the same thing. Say what we said before. Just like the spleen dried up, so too my spleen should dry up.
Well, why don't they just remove the spleen? Because my understanding is that people don't need the spleen. They can live without one. It's not.
Yeah, so I'm positive based on this Gemara that it means if you're not able to. I disagree with this translation. No, it means that if it doesn't work, it means if it doesn't work, not if you're not able to. Because what do you mean if you're not able to? If you can't, you already have the goat spleen. Why can't you put it in the oven? What's the difference between putting it in the oven or putting it on the house? It means if it didn't work, not if you're not able to do it. I disagree with the translation. If it didn't work, then you put it between the rows of this house. The rows of the bricks. Okay, so if not, if it doesn't work, what do you do then? Viloi livke shachvo. You should find out where there's someone who passed away. The shachiv b'shatzo. Minishkele liyode. Should take his hand of the dead person, guy who passed away on Shabbos. You should put the dead person's hands on your spleen. You should say, just like this person's hand dried up, the dead person's hand dried up. Yeah. I guess
it's soon after he died, before they bury the body.
Yeah. So you learn if this didn't work. Then they say biniso, you should bring a fish. V'nitve beit nafcha, you should roast it in the coals in front of a blacksmith. V'nechle b'mayadin b'nafcha, and you should drink it together with the water that he uses to cool off his iron of the blacksmith. Okay, hopefully that will work for this guy's spleen. We're on the second to last of the skinny lines. There was a goat that would drink. This is like a raya that this works. He would drink from the water of the blacksmith. They didn't find that it had a spleen at all. So we see that it causes the swelling to go down. Let's say this didn't work. You should open up a barrel of wine for this guy. Rashi explains it means that you should always drink good wine. You should always have good wine. That should help. Gemara goes on. Rav Acha berei de Rava le Rav Asher. Rav the son of Rava said to Rashi, "Isli chavis lechaber liyosed lekamei damar." If he had enough money to buy a barrel of wine, he wouldn't have had any issues. The wine would be his refuah. Hello, rather a refuah for this guy. It happened because he couldn't drink wine. Meragel b'pas shachris. You should have bread in the morning. You should have a good breakfast. The malya lekule gufa. It's very good for the whole body to have pas shachris. It's interesting. There's a Gemara that says there could be one guy who had pas shachris running, and there's 60 people chasing him, but they didn't have pas shachris. He'll be able to outrun all of them. It's like the Gemara's statement about bread. In those days, bread was a huge deal. I guess it's maybe still today. The Gemara goes on, the Rush Chasa. If you have a problem, it says here, hemorrhoids. Tachtonius, I guess, means hemorrhoids. They say akiko. You should bring a certain type of grass that's called kakuli, and they translate it as acacia. The ilva, which is aloin. The aspircho, which is pure silver, raw silver. They translate as mercury. It says kesef chai. Is that the same thing? Umartecho. This is where you dig out, says Rashi, you dig out silver from the ground. This is the psoilus. This is like the sediment of the silver, where you dig it out of the ground. It says silver dross in English. The chumraso, the piloin. It's a certain type of fragrant oil that it has a spice that's called piloin. It's considered, it's similar to the leaves of grapevines. That's what Rashi says. So a bundle of, it says a bundle of fragrant herbs. Okay. V'shiafa de chamimsa. The feces of yoinim, of doves. Says Rashi, according to his Rebbe, it's the feces of roosters. V'ninkit v'shachake de kisno. You should take it with the worn out linen, bekaito v'damer gufna b'sisma, or cotton in the winter. Worn out linen in the summer, or cotton in the winter. V'loi, and if this doesn't work, all this whole massive ingredient, lishte shichro marko, diluted beer. You should drink diluted beer. When you make all this, Rashi says you should place it, all these things together, this whole bundle together in this bag on the place. Sorry. So if it doesn't work, you should bring shichra marka. You should bring drink by diluted beer. The shigroino, if Rashi says it's called henka, it's a problem with your thighs and the kilboisis, which is it says here rheumatism. Shigroina, it says in the Steinsaltz or whatever this Safaria. Laise pasio de moinine. You should bring a barrel of moinine full of the tzir, the juice of small fish. V'nigandere shiten zimne. Aho matchose. And you should roll it 60 times on the thigh. This bowl. And 60 times on the other thigh. The tzmirto, kidney stones. Tzmirto is kidney stones. I don't. Maybe in her office? What do you do if you have kidney stones? So let's see. I lost my spot. Oh. They say tlas nitufioso. Bring 3 drops of mishcha de kufre. The psoilus of the psoilus of the tar oil. Of tar. The oil that comes when you, it says here, the oil that comes when you burn wood. It's called itron. So it was something they used for something they used for, what's it called? For the okay, here. Sorry. Mishcha de kufro tlas nitufiosa. With tlas nitufiosa 3 drops of itzo de charti when you squeeze out the leak. With tlas nitufiosa de chamra nikido, and 3 drops of pure wine. And then This is actually very interesting. I wonder if people this, because this is like an ailment that happens a lot. Should be tried. So again, 3 drops of this tar oil, 3 drops of squeezing out of leeks, 3 drops of pure wine. I don't know if we have pure wine nowadays. And then you should put it for the man on his place, his genitals, and also the woman. If it doesn't work, they say uno de zico. You should bring the handle of the zico of the jug, but should hang it for the man on his genitals and the woman on her breasts. If not, you should bring a red string. The shad say duma bas duma. This is very interesting. That a woman who's suspected of having immoral relations, the daughter of a woman who's suspected of having immoral relations, all of a sudden you're searching for these people. You should hang it for the man on his amo and the woman actually interesting on her breast. But if not, they say kina de zocher v'nekeva. You should bring a louse of them that's male and female. You should hang it for the man on his amo, on his genitals, and the woman and oisei makom in that place. Wow. Says the Gemara, Bechi mashtin nishtin asisna yeveshta b'tzinura dedoshta. You should, when they urinate, let him urinate on a sisna yeveshta, on a dry bush in the door, in the hinge of the door, where the pivot of the door. V'na'ayin b'chumrasa denafka minei. And you should be careful. You should be careful with the stone that comes out, says Rashi. Why? To malya lechulhu simra. It helps for a certain illness that's fever. If you use it, it can help you for fever. Rashi says it's an illness that's called fevery. I guess that means fever. The tzimra boda, if you have a external fever. So it's interesting. We just said what to do. You should have this stone. But anyway,
what's the difference between the first mention of fever and the tzimra?
I don't know.
External?
Maybe it's more difficult. Maybe it's very difficult to get a stone when it's very small.
Yeah.
3 se'in of pits of dates, betlosa grive atrof adro, and 3 se'in of leaves of the eder tree. And then v'nishlukinu kol chad l'chudei, you should boil each one of them on its own. V'leisev b'nayu, should sit between them. And you should put them in 2 big basins. You should bring a table and place it over him. You should stand from over one basin, sit over the other one, and so on, and vice versa. We're talking about they're hot. Until the steam coming from them. He should wash from it. And then it says, when you drink, you should only drink from the water, from the leaves of the eder tree. Says Rashi, if you bathe in hot water, you should drink from it. It's a refuah. It says in Maseches Shabbos. But not from the Maya de Sufle. Sorry, because it causes you to become an eker, infertile. Okay, so now the Gemara says the tzimra gavne. We're talking about gavno, internal fever.
What's the difference between an external fever and an internal fever?
Let's ask the doctor.
I don't know.
Amen.
The tzimra gavne, an internal fever. Let's say shiva bune disil. 7 fistfuls of beets. I think it means beets. Yeah. Oh, it says here beet leaves, according to the Safaria. Maloyad. I don't know if that's true. Doesn't say beet leaves, but it's possible. Mishev mashari, from 7 rows. V'nishlokinu ba'afrayu, you should boil it together with the earth that comes from the roots, Rashi says. V'nechel v'nishti, and then you should eat it. Oh, v'nishti atraf adra b'shichro. You should drink from a mixture of adra b'shichra. Atraf means a mixture of adra, the eder leaves with shichra, with beer. Or inve tzala b'mayim, or the grapes of inve sala, inve geffen, the grapes of a grapevine which is on a palm tree, together with water. We're on the next page now. We're on Daf Ayin Amud Aleph. We'll try to get to the 2 dots. I think that's towards the end of the cures. Yeah, sort of. I mean, yeah, basically. Okay, lechazisa. If you have boils, it says here lichen, plainness on one's skin. Rashi says yalefes. Leise shev chite. It's amazing the research that went into finding all these terms in English. I mean, most of the work was already done by the Rashi and the Aruch, I'm sure. But whatever. Leise shev chite arzniyoso. You should bring 7 coarse grains of wheat. V'niklinu amorachadto. You should roast it on a new hoe, on the blade of a new hoe. V'nafik mishcha minayu, and oil will come out. V'neishav, and you should rub this boil. He did this cure with the 7 grains of wheat that he roasted on a blade of a new hoe for a goy, for tzaras, and he cured him. Omer Shmuel. Shmuel was a famous doctor. Haiman de mochule ba'loinche de parsoi. So let's say you have a loinche parsoi. It's a certain, you were hit by a spear of a Persian. Rashi says they would put poison on the tips of their spears. Michya loichoi, he's not going to live. You're not going to live because their poison has no cure. But in the meantime, while you're dying, if you want to live at least longer, they should give him fatty meat on coals, and undiluted wine. Maybe he'll live a little bit, and he'll have time to give a last will and testament to his house. Hold. Vida Barovin said, if you swallow a wasp, see what they say here. If you swallow a hornet, let him drink a revis of chamra. Oh, it says chamra shamzag, a very strong vinegar. After the chayipurtim, after the base, you might live a little bit, and you're going to give a last will and testament to your house. Shuman Levi said, let's say you ate the meat of an ox with turnip, and you slept by the light of the moon on the night of the 14th or 15th in Tammuz. You're going to get ill. You're going to get achilu, which it says here is a strong fever. Let's say you fill your stomach with everything that's sweet for the palate, and you eat all your typhus, you're going to have an illness which is called achilu. Papa says even if you have too much dates, it's obvious. Because we said that tmorin satisfy, and they warm up, and they give you good. You have a good system. What's it called? See what they. It's You're able to go to the bathroom. And it gives you koyach, it gives you strength. And it doesn't turn you into istiness, even though it's sweet. It's a finicky person. Maybe it won't be a problem if you have too much of it. Kamash malon, that even with this, if you have too much, you fill up your stomach, can't eat too much of anything. It's a fire in the bones. Which is basically a translation of Eishel Atzomis. A fire in the bones. Maya Suse, I guess it was a known illness that they had that was called Eish Garmi. So Frek the Gemara Maya Suse, what do you do if you have a chilu? My mother, which is the woman who raised him, said, Kulu Shakyani, all the drinks that you have that you're gonna drink for a cure, there's a number. You're supposed to drink a certain amount. 3, 7, and 12. Vahaya demitzi. This one, however, you drink until you get better. Kula shakyani aliba dekona. This one, all the other drinks you're supposed to do in an empty heart. In other words, while you're fasting. This one after you eat and drink. With nofik, you come out of the bathroom. And you wash your hands. And they bring you a handful of I got cut off. A handful of lentils. And a certain measure of old wine, a handful. You mix it together, and he eats it. And then he wraps himself in his sadin, in his sheet, and he sleeps. But nobody should wake him up until he gets up by himself. Once he wakes up, take away the sheet from him. Maybe wash it. It doesn't say exactly what to do with the sheet. Rashi says in order for him to warm up, the sheet will be in order for him to warm up and sweat. Rashi says, sorry, the shtisa de tlafri is a food that's made from the flour of lentils and salt. Rashi says nobody should wake him up because the sweat is good for him. If you're not going to do this, if you're not going to take the sheet from him, we'll come back to him. Eliyahu Navi told Rav Nosson, you should fill up your stomach a third. The drink should be a third. And you should leave a third empty. And when you're going to get angry, that will fill you up the other third. And if not, Rashi says your stomach will split. When you get angry, you have no room for anger. Interesting. If you never want your stomach to get ill with your stomach, you should dip your bread in vinegar or wine. In the summer and the winter. There's a meal that you enjoy that's sweet for you, you shouldn't eat it. You shouldn't fill your stomach with it. You shouldn't wait if you need to go to the bathroom. Person who drinks bad wine, he's going to get a weakness. Rashi says haloshes. Sorry, there's 60 types of wine. Malya the hulu sumka. The best of all of them is red wine that has a good smell. The worst of all of them is bad wine that's white. Rav Yehuda said, "Hayman Yosef tzipone nissen gabi nuro." A person who's sitting in the morning b'tzafroni nissen gabi nura by the fire. The morning's a nissen by the fire. V'shayif mishcha, and he rubs oil. Manofik v'yosef b'shimsha, and then he goes out in the sun. Achazdei vitek. You're going to get weak. Tanu Rabbanan was taught. Hikis dam v'shimish mitosei. Let's say you have marital relations after you had a kozas adam, after you let your blood. Having lebonim vitkin, you're going to have children who are weak. Hikizu shneim v'shimshu. If you and your wife did hakozas adam and then had relations, having lebonim bali rasam, you can have children who are very weak. Rashi says it's I think it's even, if I remember correctly from this Gemara Maseches Ksubas, it's actually contagious. It's like a terrible illness. There's something in the brain. And that was the chiddush of Yeshua ben Levi, that he was making efforts to help these people. That's why he was allowed to go to Gittin alive. It's only if you didn't taste anything after you let your blood up. But if you tasted something, it's fine. Rabbi Baravuna said, let's say you were traveling and you were mishamish mitose. You were traveling and you had relations. You can have children who are weak. Ton Rabbanon, I guess you should rest first. Ton Rabbanon, it was taught. Somebody who's coming from the bathroom, don't have relations until you wait the shear of a half a mil. I think this is Allah and Shulchan Aruch. If there's a shade because there's a demon from the basic kise with you. You can have children who are falling constantly from a certain illness. But if you have relations standing, you're going to have avis, which is Rashi says avis is carnival. It says here spasms in the Sefaria. Carnival avis. Hiskavtzus shririm. Yeah, your muscles contract. So it says in Ozi Rashi. Miyushev, if you have relations sitting, echazte dalaria. Dalaria, it says here. Dalaria, it says here, doesn't say anything. Dalaria. Okay. For some reason, Rashi doesn't explain it, as far as I see. If he's on the bottom and she's on top, he's going to get dalaria. My dalaria? The Gemara asks, my dalaria. Mishum Levi, some dalaria dardra. The cure for dalaria is dardra. And the Gemara asks, my dardra, I'm going to buy marika dechuchi. It's the saffron of thorns. That's what it says here. Rav Papa Alice Ubolale. Rav Papi Alice Vishadile. Rav Papa would chew it and spit it out. Rav Papi would and swallow it. Rav Papi would spit it out. Amar Abaya. So it's interesting. The Gemara, it seems to me that the Gemara doesn't answer what dalaria is. It says, Amar Shum Levi Sam dalaria. I don't know. Gemara says, let's say Gimel Kfize Kurtame. Let's say you're not Baki B'derech Eretz. Rashi says you don't have koyach for relations. You should bring 3 Kfize Kurtame, which is a kalim which hold 3 revius of Kurtame. Safflower thorns. And then when you do kinu, you should grind them very well. When you should boil them with wine. When you drink them. Rabbi Yochanan said, this cure of the saffron of the thorns boiled in wine is what brought me back to my youth. Almost. Shloisha dvarim makchishim keicha shalad and there's 3 things that cause a person to become weak. Pachad, derech. Fear. Rashi says worry. If you're worried about a livelihood, if you're worried about an enemy, And he says it's called Seinsha. It's very interesting. Fear, worry. If you're always worried, it's going to weaken you. Derech, if you're traveling. And the oven, sin. My heart is fluttering as of ani koichi. I lost my strength. Derech t'chsiv ina but derech koichi. The derech is what afflicted my strength. Oven t'chsiv koshel baveni koichi. Because of my sin, my strength failed. Shleisha dvarim matizin gufa shalodem. There's three things that break a person's body. These are them. Very interesting. If you eat standing, it's interesting. It seems like Rashi has a different gear. So ochal v'omad maybe. So it seems like Rashi is saying, if you ate and you right away stood away before you waited a little bit. But here it says, "Och mumad." In our gear, so if you ate standing, b'shosam you drank standing, b'shimish mitasam mumad. No. I'm sorry, I mixed it up. I'm sorry. Again, shloshim matis and gufa shalodem. There's three things that break a person's body. Beilan och mumad. If you ate standing, b'shosam you drank standing, b'shimish mitasam mumad. You had relations standing. This is what Rashi says. Chamisha kriv and lemisa yosim in the 5 things bring you closer to death than life. Beilohein ochel v'yomad. If you ate and you stood up, shosav v'yomad. You drank and you stood up. Hikis dam v'omad. Yoshin v'omad. You slept and then right away you stood up. You had relations and right away you stood up. All these things: eating, drinking, hakazas adam, sleeping, and shimish mitose, and you right away stand up. After these things, it brings you to death, close to death. 6 things. If you do these, you're right away going to die. Die early, I guess. You're coming from a long trip, and then you right away. You tire yourself out. And then it says like this. And then what did you do? Hikis dam, you let out your blood. You're tired from coming on the trip. Then hikis dam and you go into the bathhouse. You let out blood, you go into the bathhouse. You drank and become drunk. You slept on the ground, and you were with them, you had relations. You did it all in order. To do it in order, you die. If you do it out of order, then you become weak. Gemara says, there's a woman who did it to her servant, who did 3 of these things to her servant, and he died. The answer is he was weak. But a regular person, you're only going to die if you do these 6 things in order. There's 8 things that most of them, if you do too much, it's good, but a little bit, too much is bad. When you have a lot of it, it's bad, but a little bit is good. It's a cure for you if you do a little bit. It's better not to have it at all, but a lot is bad. Traveling, to walk on the ways. You shouldn't have too much. Oisher, wealth. Too much wealth is bad. It stops you from Talmud Torah and it makes you a Baal Gaiva. That's what Rashi's explanation. So the Gemara goes on, sorry. Umalacha, work. You shouldn't work too much. Yayin, drinking. Vishina, sleeping. Chamin, to bathe and to drink hot water. Vakozes dam, and to let out your blood. Shmoina mamatinis azeres, 8 things that diminish your seed. Beilah and melach, too much salt. Varov, hunger. Vanetek, if you have tzaras. Bechia vishina al gabi karka, if you're crying too much. If you're crying, if you're sleeping on the ground. Gudgonius. Ailandra. So he translates it as Gudgonius, Malilois plant. V'chashus shalei bizmana. You eat the daughter, it says the daughter, okay? It's a certain type of plant. You eat it before it's ripe. Because dam lamato kiflaim. And if you do because dam in the lower portions of your body, then it's double. Just like it's terrible if you do it too low, so too it's good if you double. If you do it on top, just do a few more lines. Lamata min abayim. Lamata means below the bayim. Lamayla min abayim. Ukashus shalei bizmana. And kishus that you do shalei bizmana if you have these daughter plants before the time. So the Gemara explains, Tona kishem shekoshe. Just like it's terrible, as bad as it is when you do it too early, when it's not ripe, so too is it good when you eat it when it's ripe. Ripe time is when it's tamas. Before it's ripe is tavis. During the days of Nisan and Tishrei, it's not good, not bad. Okay, I think we'll stop here. We're back into the Gittin. There's a Taisus. Rav Simi, Taisus on Daf Ayin Amud Aleph. We'll quickly learn it and then we'll stop for today. Rav Simi Barashi Barashi made for the guy this cure, and he cured him from saras. He had 7 coarse wheats that he boiled on a hoe. He roasted it on a hoe, and he had oil, and he rubbed it. Says Taisus, Rabbi Chanan asks, "Am I loyal to Rapi Sevi Kachov?" Kidamrinon Perikin Mamidin Gam Yaled Manika Filu B'Schar the fish Megadlo the Ters Levi Kachovim. So he asked, how is he allowed to do this? Third, it's forbidden. You're not allowed to cure a non-Jew, even for pay, because he's going to raise him for idol worship. Amai Loyosa, why is it not forbidden? How is he allowed to do this? How is Rav Simi actually allowed to cure him? He answers, maybe because he was testing out the cures, it's allowed. In order for him to know how to cure a yid. It's allowed because he knew that Rav Rashi knew how to do it, and there would be anger. Here it's different than childbirth. Like for you to mamish to help with a midwife, to mamish help with the child being born, that's very different. Then you're mamish getting a son out. Here you're just curing him from saras. It's different. It's very different. One is you're bringing a kid for Avodah Zarah into the world. The other one is you're curing a skin ailment. That's the second answer of Taisus. Okay. We're out of the woods of the medicine.
Did Rambam's book, does it have similar cures? The one that he wrote about refuah?
I've never read that one. I don't know.
Oh, you never read that one?
I have no idea. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Tomorrow at the same time. Okay.
Tomorrow, yeah. Good Chodesh.
Oh, yes, Rosh Chodesh as well tomorrow, right? Oh.
Yeah.